Look, I've spent years studying the psychology behind luxury brands, and what I've discovered will change how you see every luxury purchase forever. These aren't just marketing strategies, they're psychological operations designed to turn desire itself into something you can't resist. Let's start with the first type, emotional engineering. Luxury brands don't sell products, they sell emotional transformations. When Cartier shows you a diamond necklace, they're not talking about clarity or carrots, they're selling the feeling of being irreplaceable, the feeling of being chosen, the feeling of transcending ordinary life. Research from the Journal of Consumer Marketing proves that luxury brands focus on 3 emotional dimensions. First, they create deep psychological connections that make you feel understood. Second, they emphasize heritage and craftsmanship that makes you feel part of something eternal. Third, they represent symbolic status that makes you feel socially elevated. Think about it. When you see a Chanel ad, it's never about the bag. It's about the woman wearing it. Her confidence, her mystery, her power. You're not buying the bag. You're buying her transformation. The second type, heritage storytelling. Every luxury brand has a story, and that story is worth more than any product they make. Hermès started in 1837 making harnesses for horses. Today, they make bags for billionaires, but they still tell the horse story. Why? Because heritage creates emotional value that money can't buy. When Patek Philippe says, "You never actually own a Patek Philippe, you merely look after it for the next generation," they're not selling watches. They're selling immortality. They're selling the idea that you're part of a lineage that transcends your individual existence. This isn't coincidence. Research from Arizona State University shows that brand narratives activate the same brain regions as personal memories. When you hear the brand story, your brain literally treats it as your own history. The third type, exclusivity architecture. This is where things get really psychological. Luxury brands deliberately make themselves hard to get, not because they can't produce more, but because scarcity creates desire. When you can't have something, your brain's reward system goes into overdrive. It's called psychological reactance. The harder something is to obtain, the more your brain values it. This is neuroscience, not opinion. Hermès doesn't have a waiting list for Birkin bags because of production issues. They have it because the wait makes you want it more. Every month you wait, the dopamine anticipation builds. By the time you get the bag, your brain is so primed for reward that the purchase feels like a life achievement. Research from the National Institutes of Health shows that exclusivity triggers the same brain patterns as addictive substances. You're literally getting high on the inability to buy something. The fourth type, precision personalization. High net worth individuals don't want products. They want recognition. They want brands to know them, understand them, anticipate them. This is why Rolls-Royce doesn't have a catalog. Every car is bespoke. This is why Louis Vuitton will monogram anything. This is why Brioni will fly a tailor to your home. Said research reveals that ultra-wealthy consumers seek comprehensive experiences that reflect their personal identity. They're not buying customization. They're buying the feeling of being uniquely understood in a world that treats everyone the same. When a brand remembers your preferences, anticipates your needs, assigns you a personal relationship manager, they're not providing service, they're providing psychological validation that you matter more than others. The fifth type, Digital Mystique. This is the newest and most fascinating development. Luxury brands are using technology to create experiences that shouldn't exist. Gucci sells digital bags for $50,000 in the metaverse that don't physically exist, and people buy them. Why? Because digital luxury triggers the same psychological responses as physical luxury. Augmented reality lets you try on a Rolex without leaving home. AI predicts what you want before you know you want it. Big data tracks your every preference to create hyper-personalized experiences. But here's the genius part. These brands use technology while maintaining mystique. They're accessible but still exclusive. They're digital but still desirable. They're using innovation to amplify tradition, not replace it. Research from BC Publication shows that brands leveraging these technologies see engagement rates triple. Not because the technology is impressive, but because it makes consumers feel seen, understood, and special in ways that were impossible before. Now here's what all 5 types have in common. They're not selling products, they're selling psychological states. Emotional engineering sells transformation. Heritage storytelling sells immortality, exclusivity, architecture sells superiority, precision personalization sells recognition, digital mystique sells future status. Each type activates different psychological triggers, but they all lead to the same result, you believing that the product will make you more than what you are. And here's the truth, luxury brands don't want you to know. It's all manufactured. Every emotion you feel, every desire you have, every dream they sell you, it's all carefully calculated psychological manipulation. But knowing this doesn't make you immune. Even understanding the psychology, you'll still feel the pull, because these strategies work on parts of your brain you can't consciously control. The limbic system doesn't care that you know about emotional engineering. The amygdala doesn't stop responding to scarcity just because you understand exclusivity architecture. Your dopamine receptors will still fire when you unbox that luxury purchase, even if you know it's all a game. So what can you do with this knowledge? 3 things. First, recognize when you're being marketed to. Every luxury experience is designed. Nothing is accidental. Second, question your motivations. Are you buying because you genuinely love the product or because of how it makes you feel about yourself? Third, if you choose to buy, buy consciously. Enjoy the psychology, appreciate the craft of the marketing, but don't confuse the story they're selling with reality. Look, I work in this industry. I help brands create these exact strategies. You can learn more about how I do it at corradomanenti.it. But I also believe consumers deserve to understand what's happening to them. Luxury marketing is perhaps the most sophisticated form of psychological influence ever created. It combines neuroscience, behavioral psychology, cultural anthropology, and technological innovation to create desire that feels completely natural but is entirely manufactured. The next time you walk into a luxury store, remember this. Every single detail, from the lighting to the scent to the way they greet you, has been designed to activate specific parts of your brain. The velvet ropes aren't there for crowd control. They're there to trigger exclusivity responses. The heritage plaques aren't there for education. They're there to activate legacy associations. The personal shoppers aren't there for service. They're there to provide psychological validation. Understanding types of luxury marketing isn't about cynicism. It's about awareness. These brands create beautiful products and extraordinary experiences. But they also use some of the most advanced psychological techniques ever developed to make you want things you don't need. Remember, luxury marketing doesn't sell products, it sells the person you wish you were. Visit corradomanenti.com to discover how these strategies are crafted, because once you understand the game, you can choose how to play it.